speaking of legend, I will bring him in now. He's been sitting in the background having a listen. President of Oz Hockey Media, does outstanding work over there with the graphics and getting all the news out, etc., across their website as well. Sean O'Connor, welcome to the
morning, Doogie. How you going?
What's happening, mate?
Oh, not much. It was a bit of a struggle to make sure that I was up in time for the show, but I'm glad I am.
It's
I can already tell you one, by the way. 2019 was the Brave team that only lost one game.
Okay, there you go.
They lost 2 games in the entire season, one in the shootout, one in regulation.
And that was pretty crazy when you think. It's pretty crazy when you think about like teams only losing 1 or 2 in regulation, considering with the AI, like when you think about the travel, like heading over to Perth and things like that, like it's not like it's a short trip, short flight, short bus ride to get to a different rink like you might see in different parts of the world. It's pretty crazy to think that teams can travel from the East Coast to West Coast and still pick up wins.
100%. And yeah, I mean, and it's so hard to do consistently. And as you say, with those big trips, like, go to Perth, you literally like arrive and then you basically having to play hockey straight away. And you're just there, just absolutely, smashed. And then, you come back and you're lucky to come away with wins, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. The Canberra Brave, I don't think it's any secret that you're a Canberra Brave fan. You've got the cap on. I know you do a lot of things for the entire league in terms of covering it, but you are a Canberra Brave fan. It's been an interesting season with all the changes and moving from rink and all the excitement. I did see Steve Moller sent me a message just before the Canberra Times. I think it was the Brave, I think a front page of the Canberra Times. It's quite outstanding, isn't it?
Yeah, it's been insane to see the turnaround in kind of, I guess, exposure that the team's getting. Both local media, as you say, with the Canberra Times, region media, but also then, and ABC News, but also, the national news services as well, picking up not just Canberra, but also kind of the league in general for the very first time. And kind of seeing hockey in like a positive light in media. It seems really unusual because the only times we've ever really seen previously when our league has made sort of national news has been for negative things. So it kind of shows that there's a lot more interest in the league, and that's great to see.
Yeah, it's usually if there's a fight or something like that on the ice, that's when the only time you'd sort of get that media coverage.
Yes, or Bingate, or something like this, or the 2 Sydney teams having to pull out, pre-season that made national news, and again, that wasn't a positive news item, but yeah.
We got Andrew John Egan in the chat, the Canberra Brave mogul. I'm guessing he's talking about you, Sean, and Courtney. AIS build it and they will come. Yes, absolutely. It's one of those things, isn't it? Supply and demand, I suppose. And it's had the conversation across this show, and I know across your show as well, Sean, that it's one of those things where you think now that the AIS Arena sort of concept, if possible, could happen across the country.
100%. I keep thinking, oh yeah, you could totally do this up in Brisbane. You could do this in Perth. You could do this in Adelaide. I feel that there's a lot of support. You look at every team. Every team seems to be packing out their arenas, and it's interesting. I actually recently been doing quite a bit of research into old seasons, and that includes looking at a lot of old photos. And just noticing just how many more empty seats there were back then compared to what you see now. So definitely it is a sport on the rise, but it's kind of, for a lot of the parts of the country, it's kind of at that capacity now where the actual arenas are the things that are holding the league and these teams back, as opposed to yeah.
Yeah, it's probably one of those things, I think, where it's the professionalism, I suppose, on the ice and the product, even off the ice, and I suppose in what we do and what local newspaper and that do and things like that, and the way that the clubs promote themselves in that professional sense. You see it with people getting photos and autographs of these players who will play on a weekend and then they'll go and be a plumber from Monday to Friday. But you can see that professionalism. And now I suppose, it's trying to line up that professionalism with professional rinks.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me a bit of like late 80s, early 90s rugby league. Obviously being from Canberra, big rugby league town traditionally. So the Raiders are big, massive here. And I remember, those glory days of the Raiders back in late 80s, early 90s. All those players had second jobs. They're all laborers, bricklayers, whatever. And it kind of, there's a lot of parallels between that and what ice hockey's at.
Yeah, absolutely. Steve Moller as well in the comments, have to agree with Sean, best positive media coverage for quite some time. And also build it and promote it like crazy and they will come. I do agree with that as well, Steve, 100%.
And I think like it's been such a big statement to, I guess, a lot of different media as well as people in the community that, yeah, this is a sport that wants to be bigger than it is and it can put on a great show. And it's really proven that concept, not just for Canberra, but for everyone.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. The Canberra Brave season, Sean, is there one moment or one thing that you can pinpoint where you felt like they'd really turned the corner and turned into the team that we're seeing right now?
There definitely was a slower start to the season. I mean, the problem with the Brave over the last 2 seasons has been that they've had very disjointed rosters. They haven't had like a single roster for the entire season, so they tend to have guys who are there at the very beginning, and then they have a bit of lap period where they're kind of treading water, trying to make sure that they're able to get the rest of their imports in and kind of build up that proper chemistry throughout the entire team. So I don't know if there's an exact point, but the losses in Melbourne against the Mustangs in the Ice, they were big losses. That kind of was that. I feel that was the kind of point where that was the Brave at their lowest, and then they kind of have come out from that and have built again.
Do you feel like they're a more of an even team this season, like in terms of production? Like when I look at like 2024 and you think about like Cangelosi, who was outstanding last season and was sort of like the number one guy. I sort of look at the Brave this season and I don't feel like that.
Yeah, I tend to agree too. It is interesting seeing a Brave team that doesn't have sort of a focal scoring point because so many Brave teams previously have. Like you look at all the Stephen Blunden years, the Geordie Woodrick, and yeah, like Kangalosi last year. This year, yeah, the points are definitely shared, but I think because they don't have that sort of massive natural goal scorer, it means that there's been a lot more points shared around. Like even through the lower lines, for instance, like you got players like Mitch Henning, Cam Todd, you got Kai Miettinen who are all scoring points. So it's definitely been a different Brave season for that in that sense.
Yeah, 100%. And there's been a lot of change too when you think about the likes of even Casey Kabara departing as well. Like that's a big hole. When people look at a team and they'll see someone leave the team, there's not just a player leaving. Like you got to look at, okay, they've left the team. That's fine, but we have to replace those points or those goals from somewhere. So like, I think Casey scored nearly 20 goals last season for the Canberra Brave. You've still got to replace those goals.
Yeah, that's right. And I mean, the Brave did set in play a bit of a plan to kind of for that transition. I mean, that's why we saw players like Tommy Stephen come into the team and Jacob Carey last year. And they've continued on this year and have built on their performances from last year. Like Carey, you can't really deny just how important he is for the Brave this year. He's been a massive player. He's stepped up a lot. He is probably the player who is the go-to goal scorer in the Brave team at the moment. And he's just fulfilling that role magically.
And they are the informed team of the competition, the Brave. They've gone 9-1 in their last 10, which is absolutely outstanding. I am here with Sean O'Connor, the president of Oz Hockey Media. If you've got a question for Sean, drop it in the chat. We can get it up on the screen. Courtney's got a question here or a comment, and it's something that I was going to chat with you about Tetro and Hasselman have found their groove and are an unbelievable tandem in net. It's funny because when I looked at this tandem like throughout the season, and I did mention it sort of being similar to, I suppose, the Brisbane Lightning, where they were sort of close in terms of games played and they were sort of sharing the load a bit. But it does look like Alex Tetro has now taken that sort of mantle when you look at the amount of games that he's playing compared to Hasselman. Where do you see these two goaltending tandems? Obviously, Alex is a former Goodall Cup champion and can obviously take the team all the way to the end.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, and he's been such a great stalwart for the team for so many years now. Obviously, changing that tandem up from him and Alexi, who are obviously very good friends and were in those similar roles for a long time. I think it was always expected this year that Alex would take more of the lion's share of games than Joel Hasselman, but man, Hasselman's been great when he's come in as well. And it has been such a relief for the team to have that tandem. I think that anytime any team has great goalie tandems, they're so much stronger than if you're just relying squarely on one goaltender. Because if they're unavailable for whatever reason, you kind of go into a bit of troubleshooting, and it doesn't end up as well for them. But I've been really happy with the two. Joel Hasselman he's such a gentleman. He actually did a heap of work on building the rink when they were building it at the AIS, and when you were down actually for the Mustangs games, he was the one out there repairing the glass when it broke.
Yeah,
and everyone was commenting like, "Oh, thank God he wasn't in goals and we didn't have to wait for him to take off all his goalie uniform."
Yeah, heavily invested. When I was there, and it's funny because like obviously Alexi Toivonen had departed the Canberra Brave, so there was that big question of like, how is this going to play out now for the Brave? And it looks like they've found their tandem. And when I look at Hasselman as well, even when I was up there for the Mustangs for that weekend, some of the saves that Hasselman was producing was just outstanding. Just some of the reactions sort of pushing off from one side to the other just to get there in time was absolutely outstanding.
Yeah, I would 100% agree. He has some great shot saving skills. But both him and Alex have periods where they can make some mistakes, and it's good to have the other one to support them for when that happens. And so it's been working out quite well for the Brave this year.
Got Sky in the chat as well. Love watching Tommy play. I think a lot of people do, Sky. And there is a question here for you, Sean. Hey, Sean, who is your number one local player that's not a Canberra player and why?
That's not a Canberra player. It's interesting. I mean, there's so many great local players around. I personally really love Matt Caruana. I've been so impressed with him the last 3 years. Just how he sort of transformed his game from prior to that, and seeing just him build himself into this phenomenal goal scoring machine for the Ice, has been unbelievable. He took over the captaincy there, and I'm always impressed by him.
Yeah, absolute gentleman too, off the ice as well. The interactions I've had with Mac as well. Not surprising that you've put Mac's name up there. Courtney in the chat as well. The standout weekend being when they played one game each and both beat Melbourne Ice's onslaught. And Andrew John Egan as well, just returning fire, erased from memory, telling Courtney as a Melbourne Ice person. That was a big weekend for the Canberra Brave, and it was one of those weekends, I think, Sean, where when the Ice did come to town, I think like when they played at AIS Arena, I felt like that was almost like a little bit of a mini statement sort of weekend for the Canberra Brave, because the Melbourne Ice were obviously they're now the minor premiers. They've been sitting on top all season, hadn't lost in regulation, and the Brave were building and had been on that winning streak. And then I felt like when the Ice came to town, it was almost like a little mini statement, like partway through the season. I'm not sure if it was halfway through or just after halfway through the season, but they were two big wins for the Canberra Brave. And you could see out on the ice, I think, even with the celebrations after the goals, that it did mean a lot to them.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it was important not just for the Brave, but probably for other teams in the league as well, to see the Ice can be beaten. Because until then, they were just this rolling juggernaut. There were times when, like, I distinctly remember when the Mustangs were up, I think it was 3 goals over the Ice at one stage, and then the Ice came back and still managed to win. And they've done that constantly through the season. You know, I always regard that as kind of the telltale sign of a championship kind of winning team, when, you know, the cards can be working against you, but you can still turn it and make it and get the victory. Yeah, it was a big weekend for Canberra. I know there was always caveats over this, the fact that Booth wasn't playing, but still, you had to go
Yeah.
out there, you had to perform, and you had to beat what was the best team in the league by far, and Canberra managed to do it. And I do want to have a shout out to all those traveling Ice fans that weekend. They were all so amazing, and I know that they did cop a bit from some of sections of the Brave fans. So yeah, thanks for coming down, guys, and it was so much fun.
Well, you can only beat who you can beat. So, you know, those people who say that this player wasn't playing or that player, you can only beat who's out there. And the Brave did that. How much do you think the AIS, like the rink and all that sort of stuff, has helped the Brave this season in terms of like the way they're playing and their form and how good they're looking?
Yeah, I think it's interesting that the actual ice size itself isn't too dissimilar to Phillip. Obviously, it's a bit wider than what Phillip was, but it's not, it's not any longer, which means that it's still a kind of specialized sized rink. And for that, Canberra has always been very good at playing in their home ice. Other teams are often used to much larger sheets of ice, like Melbourne. So it makes a bit of a difference for the Brave, and the way they play and move around that ice sheet is, it's unbelievable. And the movement, I just so much great movement from one side to the other. The Brave just have like this great passing game going at the moment, and it is different though. All the Brave players have said that I've talked to have said that it is different having the glass this year as opposed to previously. It does change how you play a bit, and yeah. So, and just I guess the noise from the crowd is quite different when you've got, you know, about 1,000 people compared to 3,000 people. It makes a bit of a difference.
Yeah, 100%. Andrew John Egan as well can only beat what's out there. Canberra can take plenty from it regardless. Form doesn't lie. I totally agree. Corey Katina as well. I would argue that it was good for the Ice as well. Not losing, it's easy to get complacent. That's the other, I suppose, flip side of those results as well is, it might have been good for the Ice, I suppose, to lose those two, as people say.
Yeah, I was talking to Vinny Hughes after the game at Caribou, and yeah, we were talking about the fact that the Ice probably needed a bit of adversity for the season. It doesn't hurt to have that and to know what that feeling is, because you want to get back to that winning way. And yeah, again, I look back on that 2019 Canberra season, for instance, and, you know, the Brave just went most of the season without losing, and then they lost first game in finals to the Bears and were just knocked out, and that was it.
Yeah.
They didn't really have that adversity through the regular season, so yeah,
And
it can
Steve
work.
Muller as well. Sometimes you got to lose to keep winning. One guy I wanted to talk to you about, and then we can move on. And if you're happy to hang around, Sean, I might get you to hang around for the entire show. If you got nothing on this morning, I've got his signed puck here behind me. I picked it up when I was at AIS Arena. Niels Kahnbach. Like, I love watching Niels play. I think been a fantastic addition to the Canberra Brave. 20 points from 11 games, 9 goals as well this season. What do you see from Niels? Because I feel like Niels just adds something totally different for the Canberra Brave lineup since coming in.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I look at our import players this year, especially our forwards, and he's definitely someone who's very different from the other forwards that we have. And I absolutely adore watching Niels play hockey. He's got like silky hands. He has phenomenal puck handling skill. Probably next level to what I've seen from a Canberra player before. And yeah, he adds a lot to that team. He's been a big difference to not only just score goals himself, but also creating lots of opportunities with these sort of forward runs that he does and gets around defenses and in behind and be able to pass it back. So yeah, yeah, very much a big fan of his. And I know
Andrew
he
John
has a
Egan.
really famous father.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right. There you go. Okay.
who
Andrew
played
John Egan, impressive player, good mitts. So agreeing with your take there from Andrew Egan.
yeah, and I'm pretty sure his father played in the NHL for a long time. Way back when, I can't remember his
Yeah,
name right
okay.
off the top of
There
my
you
head.
go. There's a
Patrick
good
Carnback.
there's a good pedigree there.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
that's right.
and it was one of those things too, I suppose. Just finishing up with the Canberra Brave talk when Brendan McNally um, departed the club, it was really one of those things of like, okay, how we go, how is the Brave going to replace someone like that who was just lights out since arriving?
Yeah, I know, and he actually had really great chemistry with Kanich when they first started the season as well. Um, so it was disappointing to see Brendan McNally leave, especially because the Brave had signed him up a couple of years ago, wasn't able to end up coming. Finally, was able to come out, and then yeah, he really hit the road. He was a natural goal scorer. He would have scored so many goals this season if he was here the entire season. But yeah, he was an impressive player, but I had to leave. So yeah, it was a bit of I guess, a shock to the team to be able to try and replace that within the team. I am sad though that he never got to experience the AIS because his last game was the weekend before they moved to the AIS against the North Stars, and yeah, should be yeah. Hopefully, I don't know. Maybe he might come back. Who knows?
Yeah, it would have been good to see, I suppose, McNally and a Booth go head to head at some stage in the league at the same time.